Shanghai glowed like a river of light beneath the velvet night sky. From the floor-to-ceiling windows of their luxury townhouse, Keanu Reeves and his wife watched the glittering skyline shimmer across the water. Inside, the atmosphere was warm, calm and perfect, one of those rare evenings where the world finally seemed quiet enough to breathe. Keanu sat on the soft gray couch, his arm gently wrapped around his wife's shoulders. A jazz melody played low in the background, mixing with the distant hum of the city. His wife rested her head against him, tracing her fingers along the sleeve of his shirt. The peaceful rhythm of their togetherness made the world outside feel far away. They had come to Shanghai for privacy, for space away from the constant eyes of the world. For weeks it had been nothing but dinners, long walks, quiet mornings, and laughter echoing through their stylish home. For the first time in a while, Keanu felt grounded, like life had slowed down enough for him to truly feel alive again. "I wish every night could be like this," his wife whispered, her voice soft as silk. Keanu smiled, brushing his hand against her cheek. "It could be. It should be." The warmth between them felt almost magical, wrapping the room like a soft blanket. The faint glow of a table lamp cast gentle shadows across the walls, making the night feel safe, almost dreamlike. They didn't know it yet, but this moment would be the final slice of peace before everything shattered. A sudden gust of wind pressed against the windows. Not unusual for a high-rise, but it caught his wife's attention. She lifted her head slightly, listening. Keanu felt her body tense. "Did you hear that?" she asked. He paused, listening. The jazz continued, the city hummed, but something else lingered in the air. A feeling, a shift, a pressure. Then, bang, bang, bang! 3 heavy knocks shook the front door. Not polite taps, not a neighbor. These were knocks filled with authority and force, knocks that demanded attention. His wife's breath caught. Who would come at this hour? Keanu rose slowly, heart tightening. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. He felt it in the back of his spine, like an instinct honed by years of surviving brutal Hollywood worlds and real-life hardship. Quietly, he motioned for his wife to stay behind him. The knocks came again, louder, sharper, echoing through the entire home. Bang, bang, bang! The jazz music suddenly felt eerie, out of place. A shadow passed under the door. Then another. More than one person stood on the other side, many more. Keanu's pulse quickened. His wife clutched the back of his shirt, her voice trembling. "Keanu, something's not right." No answer came to reassure her. Only silence, heavy, suffocating, and full of danger. The peaceful night in Shanghai had just ended, and something dark, powerful, and unstoppable had arrived at their door. The knocks didn't stop. They grew heavier, sharper, echoing like thunder through the quiet home. Keanu took a slow breath, steadying his nerves as he moved toward the door. His wife stayed behind him, gripping her hands tightly, eyes wide with fear. Then came the voice, deep, commanding, unmistakably authoritarian. "Open the door! Shanghai police!" But something was off. The tone wasn't local. The voice carried the sharp English articulation of someone who didn't belong to this city. Keanu exchanged a quick look with his wife. "Stay behind me," he whispered. With steady hands but a racing heart, he unlocked the door. The moment it opened, even just a few inches, the hallway exploded with red and blue lights. Dozens of tactical flashlight beams shot into the house, blinding him for a second. Heavy boots thudded against the polished floor as several officers moved into formation. And then she stepped forward. A tall, imposing black lady police officer emerged from the shadows, her silhouette sharp and unyielding. She wore dark tactical armor with foreign insignias, nothing like the regular Shanghai police. Her eyes were fierce, calculating, and full of authority. Her presence alone could freeze a room. She stared directly at Keanu, no hesitation, no doubt. "Keanu Reeves, your wife. Step forward." Her voice filled the room like a command that could not be refused. Keanu's wife gasped softly. Who are you?" The officer held up a warrant, thick, official-looking, stamped with foreign seals. "We are conducting an international joint operation," she said, her tone sharp. "You two are required to come with us immediately." Keanu narrowed his eyes. "For what reason?" The officer didn't blink. "Classified." Her answer was too fast, too confident, too prepared. Keanu felt his muscles tense, not in fear, but in awareness. Something was deeply wrong. Behind her, more officers poured into the home, both Chinese and foreign agents. They moved with silent coordination, sweeping through every room of the house. Drawers opened. Luggage searched. Electronics unplugged. Cameras flashed. His wife clung to his arm. "Keanu, what is happening?" He wrapped an arm protectively around her. "Stay close. Don't move." The officer stepped further inside, her boots echoing like a judge's gavel. She studied the couple, eyes sharp, almost studying their reactions more than the scene itself. "You will cooperate," she said. "Resistance will make things worse." Keanu raised his chin. "Who gave this order?" She paused, then leaned slightly closer, her voice dropping to a chilling whisper. "People far above your level. Do not test them." Her words cut through the air like ice. The room fell silent. Then, with a snapping gesture of her fingers, she gave the order. "Secure them." Instantly, officers closed in from both sides. Flashlights, radios, weapons, all converging on the terrified couple. Keanu held his wife's hand tightly. The living room, minutes ago filled with warm jazz and soft lighting, now looked like a battleground of shadows and flashing tactical lights. Officers swarmed through the townhouse with military precision, their footsteps echoing like a storm inside the quiet Shanghai night. Keanu stood frozen for a moment, trying to understand what was happening, but everything was moving too fast. His wife clutched his arm, her breath shaking, her eyes wide and terrified. "Keanu, they're everywhere," she whispered. He gently squeezed her hand. "Stay calm. I'm right here." But inside, even Keanu felt the rising panic. None of this made sense. No warning. No explanation. Just a sudden raid led by a foreign officer on Chinese soil. It wasn't just strange, it was impossible. The black lady officer watched them closely, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Her presence commanded the entire room, even overshadowing the local officers. It was clear she was the one in charge. A Chinese officer approached her. "Ma'am, we've searched the upstairs." No resistance. No hidden rooms. She nodded sharply. "Continue." Keanu stepped forward. "You still haven't explained why you're here." She turned her gaze on him, her eyes cold but intelligent. "You and your wife are part of an ongoing investigation. That is all you need to know right now." His wife shook her head, tears forming. "Investigation for what?" "We haven't done anything." The officer didn't flinch. "Not everything is about guilt. Mrs. Reeves, sometimes it's about information." Information. The word hit Keanu like a puzzle piece that didn't fit anywhere. "Information about what?" he asked. She held back a smirk, as if she knew far more than she was allowed to say. "Classified." One of the foreign agents approached her with an electronic device. "Ma'am, we're picking up encrypted signals inside the residence. Unusual frequency." The officer's eyes sharpened. "Track it. Find the source." More agents rushed past, scanning walls with handheld devices. High-tech equipment, way beyond normal police standards. This wasn't a simple arrest. This was a covert operation. Keanu's mind raced. Had someone planted something? Watched them? Set them up? His wife trembled beside him. "Keanu, are we in danger?" He pulled her close. "I won't let anything happen to you. I promise." But even he knew his promise had limits. Surrounded by armed officers, outnumbered and outmaneuvered, his control was slipping. Suddenly, one of the Chinese officers shouted from the hallway, "We found a device!" The room froze. Agents rushed toward the sound. Keanu and his wife exchanged a terrified glance. They had no devices, no secrets. Nothing that belonged to them should have triggered such a response. The black lady officer gave Keanu a long, calculating look, one that held accusation, suspicion, and something else. Something hidden. "You see?" she said quietly. "This is bigger than you think." The once peaceful Shanghai townhouse now felt like a war zone. Officers moved with ruthless efficiency, shadows flickering across the walls as tactical flashlights swept every corner. The soft aroma of scented candles had been replaced by the cold, metallic smell of weapons, boots, and fear. Keanu kept his wife behind him, shielding her like a protective barrier. Her fingers dug into his arm, her breath shaky and uneven. The chaos unfolding around them felt unreal, like stepping into someone else's nightmare. From the upstairs landing, two foreign agents rushed down carrying a black electronic device sealed in a plastic evidence box. "Ma'am, this was hidden behind the drywall," one of them said. "Hidden behind the wall?" Keanu's wife looked at him in confusion. "Keanu, we never—" "I know," he whispered. "We didn't put anything there." The black lady officer approached the device with a quiet, dangerous focus. Her eyes narrowed as if confirming something she already suspected. "Advanced encrypted technology," one of the agents said. "Not Chinese. Definitely not civilian." The officer turned her, sharp gaze to Keanu. "You're telling me you knew nothing about this?" He stepped forward slightly. "We've lived here only 2 weeks. We didn't install anything. Someone else must have—" "Save it!" she snapped, her tone cutting through the room. Behind them, more officers overturned cushions, checked vents, scanned paintings with infrared devices. Every movement was precise, almost militaristic. The house was no longer theirs. It belonged to the investigation. Keanu's wife flinched as a group of officers pushed into their bedroom, knocking over a bedside lamp. Glass shattered across the floor. "Please!" she cried out. "Stop! That's our home!" But no one listened. Orders were shouted, drawers were emptied, and closets were searched with brutal speed. Keanu looked at the black lady officer, frustration rising. "This is unnecessary." "You're treating us like criminals." She turned slowly toward him, her expression stone hard. "Mr. Reeves, you are part of an operation that spans 3 countries. Your presence here makes you a person of interest. That device did not appear out of thin air. But we didn't put it there," Keanu insisted. "You're ignoring that." "Because your innocence is not yet proven," she replied coldly. Another agent rushed in. "Ma'am, we found more traces. Possible hidden wiring leading to the balcony." His wife gasped. "What? How? Someone must have—" Keanu held her close. "It's a setup," he murmured against her hair. "Someone planted this. Someone wants this to happen. But who and why?" The officer seemed to read his thoughts. She walked closer, standing just inches from him. For a moment, the raid noise faded, replaced by a tension sharp enough to cut. "You think you're victims," she said quietly. "Maybe you are. Maybe you aren't. But tonight we find out." With a sharp gesture of her hand, she barked the next order. The moment the black lady officer gave the order, the atmosphere inside the house shifted. The officers, who had been moving with cold efficiency, now surrounded Keanu and his wife with a tight closing formation. Flashlights tilted. Radios crackled. Boots scraped sharply against the marble floor. Keanu instinctively stepped in front of his wife, his jaw tightening. "You're making a mistake," he said, voice firm but calm, controlled as always. "We've done nothing wrong." The officer didn't blink. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." His wife gasped, clutching his arm. "Keanu, no. Please don't let them—" "It's okay," he whispered, turning just enough to meet her trembling eyes. "I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." But they both knew he had no power here. 2 officers grabbed his arms. Their grip was firm, cold, professional. The metallic click of handcuffs echoed through the room, sharp as breaking glass. His wife cried out when they pulled him away from her, reaching for him desperately as if he were being ripped from the world itself. "Stop! Don't touch him!" she shouted, voice trembling. But her pleas fell into the void. The black lady officer stepped in front of her, blocking her path. Her expression held no empathy, only duty, maybe even something deeper, something personal. "Mrs. Reeves," she said, "you need to comply." "No," she cried. "We haven't done anything. You can't—" Her protest was cut off when 2 officers gently but forcefully took her arms. She tried to pull away, but they were stronger, guiding her wrists behind her back. Tears streamed down her cheeks as the cold steel cuffs locked onto her skin. Keanu's heart clenched at the sight. "Hey!" he shouted, struggling against his restraints. "Be careful with her." But his voice didn't reach them. He was dragged a step away, powerless to shield her. The pain in his chest wasn't from the metal. Cutting into his wrists, it was from watching the woman he loved trembling, terrified, helpless. The black lady officer leaned close to his wife, her voice cold but controlled. "This is protocol. Cooperate and you both stay safe." Keanu's wife looked up at her through tears. "Please, tell us what we did." Why are you doing this to us? The officer studied her face. For a long moment, almost as if something flickered behind her eyes, a hesitation, a shadow of regret. But it vanished quickly. You'll be informed at the appropriate time, she said. Two agents moved behind Keanu, pushing him forward toward the entrance. The red and blue police lights from the hallway spilled into the house like violent brushstrokes of chaos. His wife was escorted behind him, her voice breaking as she called his name, Keanu. "Don't leave me, I'm right here!" he shouted back, twisting to see her. "I won't let anything happen to you." But the distance between them grew. Officers lined the corridor. Cameras flashed. Radios buzzed. The world outside their peaceful home had collapsed into a nightmare they didn't understand. The cold night air hit them like a slap as Keanu and his wife were pushed out of their once safe home and into the dimly lit Shanghai street. Police lights painted the walls in violent flashes of red and blue. Neighbors peeked through curtains, confused, frightened, whispering among themselves as the convoy filled the block. But this wasn't a normal police scene. Lined up along the street were 3 black armored vans, their engines already rumbling. No logos, no markings, just matte black metal and tinted windows. Vehicles meant for covert operations, not public arrests. Keanu felt hands gripping his arms tightly as agents pushed him forward. His wife followed behind, flanked by 2 officers who held her as if she were a high-profile threat. Her tears reflected the flashing lights, turning every drop into a tiny glimmer of heartbreak. "Where are you taking us?" she cried out, her voice raw. No answer. Only the humming engines, only the heavy boots, only the silence of secrets. Keanu looked over his shoulder, catching a glimpse of her face, broken, frightened, searching for reassurance. He clenched his jaw, his entire body screaming to break free. To hold her, to protect her. But the handcuffs kept him locked in helplessness. They were shoved toward separate vans. "No!" his wife screamed. "Keanu, don't separate us, please!" Keanu fought against the officers, his voice booming across the street. "Let me stay with her. She's not safe alone." The black lady officer stepped forward, her silhouette framed by the streetlights. "Separate them," she ordered calmly. Keanu's eyes burned with anger. "Why are you doing this?" She didn't blink protocol. He wanted to shout. Wanted to fight. Wanted to break the world open with his bare hands. But 2 agents forced him into the van, slamming the metal door shut behind him. Darkness swallowed him instantly, thick, suffocating, and silent except for the low hum of machinery. His wife's cries were cut off as her van door slammed shut too. Inside the darkness, Keanu struggled against the cuffs, breathing hard. The only light came from a faint red bulb overhead. The air felt heavy, like he was buried underground. Through the metal wall, he heard muffled voices blindfold him. Before he could react, a thick fabric was wrapped around his eyes. The world went black, completely black. The loss of sight made his heartbeat surge. His senses sharpened, focusing on sound, smell, vibration. He felt the van lurch forward. Tires skidded slightly on wet pavement. Engines rev-ed. Sirens remained off, silent convoy mode. Keanu's thoughts raced. Who were these people? Why were foreign agents operating in Shanghai? What was that device hidden in their house? Who planted it? And why involve his wife? But the worst thought of all, the one that shattered his chest, was the silence from her van. Was she okay? Was she terrified? Was she safe? He tugged desperately at his cuffs, whispering into the darkness, "I'm here. I'm still here. Stay strong." The convoy sped through Shanghai like a silent shadow, weaving through back alleys, industrial zones, and deserted highways until the city lights slowly disappeared. Keanu could feel every turn in his bones, every acceleration, every sudden break. The blindfold amplified everything, every vibration, every breath of the agents sitting across from him. Somewhere ahead, he sensed they were approaching something big, something cold, something hidden. The van finally came to a stop. Metal doors clanked open, and rough hands dragged him out into the chilling night air. The blindfold blurred everything into darkness. But he could feel the size of the place around him, an open space, wide and echoing. Wind swept across his face, carrying the faint smell of jet fuel. He knew that smell. An airport, but not a commercial one. A military-grade runway. "Move him," a voice ordered. Keanu was walked forward, gravel crunching beneath his shoes, the air thick with secrecy. As the blindfold was suddenly ripped from his eyes, he blinked against the bright floodlights. Then he saw it. A massive American military cargo aircraft, gray and towering like a steel monster. Its rear ramp was open, revealing a cold, cavernous interior lined with restraints, crates, and heavily armed personnel. His stomach tightened. This wasn't extradition. This was abduction wrapped in protocol. He spun immediately, searching for his wife. And then, relief hit him like a wave. Two officers were escorting her from another van. Her hair messy, cheeks wet, the terror in her eyes raw and visible. She saw Keanu and cried out, "Keanu!"
"I'm here!"
He tried to move toward her, but agents blocked him. "No contact," one barked. Keanu's voice roared across the runway. "She comes with me. You hear me? She stays with me!" The black lady officer descended the ramp of the aircraft, her boots echoing with authority. Her presence cut through the chaos like a blade. She walked up to them, her eyes as cold as the steel around them. "You both are being transferred to U.S. custody," she said. "You will comply." Keanu glared at her with burning fury. "At least let her walk beside me." The officer studied him for a moment, longer than usual. Something flickered across her eyes. A thought. A hesitation. But then she gestured sharply. "Bring them together." His wife was pushed closer. The moment her shoulder brushed his, she broke into sobs. Keanu leaned as close as the handcuffs allowed. "I'm right here. I won't leave you. Not now, not ever." The officer watched the moment with an expression he couldn't read. A whistle cut through the air. "Load them." Keanu and his wife were led up the ramp, their footsteps echoing inside the hollow metal beast. Soldiers and agents lined the inside, their faces stern and shadowed under dim red lights. As soon as they were inside, the ramp began to close. The heavy metal door sealed shut with a deep booming sound that vibrated through the aircraft. They land in darkness, an unsettling, unnatural darkness that feels heavier than night itself. The plane touches the runway with a dull thud, and the engines slowly die down, leaving behind an eerie silence that presses against Keanu's ears. For a moment, he sits still, breathing quietly, trying to steady his racing thoughts. He doesn't know where they have brought him. He only knows it is not Thailand, not any place he recognizes, and definitely not any place good. Then, without warning, the cabin lights snap off. Everything plunges into shadow. Only a faint red emergency light flickers above the exit door. Keanu feels the energy shift, agents moving, weapons being checked, boots hitting the floor. He can hear them, even if he cannot see them clearly. A cold voice commands everyone to prepare for offloading. No one explains anything. No one even bothers to say where they are. The door opens with a hiss, and a gust of icy wind rushes inside. The air smells of metal, oil, and danger. Outside, the darkness feels nearly solid, like a thick wall stretching across a vast empty landscape. As Keanu is pulled out of the plane, the blinding beams of headlights snap on all at once, at least 10 black SUVs surrounding the aircraft in a tight formation. Engines rumble, shadows stretch, and silhouettes of American agents move with trained precision. Their uniforms are dark, almost blending into the night. But Keanu can still see the glint of badges, the shape of tactical vests, the silent readiness in their posture. They do not speak. They do not look at him. They simply exist like ghosts trained to obey orders without question. Keanu's wrists ache in the cuffs as he is led down the mobile stairs, escorted by 2 agents who grip him firmly on each side. He feels the weight of dozens of unseen eyes watching him, studying him, judging him, deciding his fate without ever asking for his version of the truth. The atmosphere is suffocating, heavy, tense. Every breath feels like inhaling secrets, secrets that hang in the air like fog, secrets that the agents seem to know but none will reveal. Something dark is happening here, something bigger than an arrest, bigger than a simple accusation. Keanu senses it in the way the agents stand, in the silence between their movements, in the coldness of the night that surrounds them. A woman steps forward, her boots echoing sharply on the concrete. She is tall, commanding, her posture radiating rank and authority. Her face is unreadable. She doesn't waste time with introductions. She simply studies Keanu, her expression hidden behind the shadows cast by the SUV headlights. "Move," she finally says, her voice calm, controlled, and chillingly certain. Keanu is pushed toward the center SUV. He glances around, no sign of a city. No lights, no landmarks, only darkness stretching endlessly in every direction. Wherever they have taken him, it is a place meant for secrets, a place where truth disappears. The SUV door slams shut behind Keanu, sealing him inside a metal box of silence and shadows. The windows are tinted so dark he can barely tell if it's night or day outside. A single dim overhead light flickers weakly, illuminating only the outlines of the seats and the stern faces of the two agents seated across from him. Their expressions don't change. They don't blink. They don't acknowledge him at all. Keanu sits with his hands cuffed, the cold metal biting into his skin. He tries to steady his breathing, but the tension thickens the air inside the vehicle. He can't stop thinking about his wife, where she is, whether she's safe, whether she's being treated the same way he is. The uncertainty claws at him more than the fear does. The SUV begins to move, slowly at first, then accelerating into the darkness. The ride is silent, smoother than he expects, almost unnervingly perfect. No one speaks. No radio chatter. No engine roar. Just the rhythmic, controlled hum of a machine built for missions that never make the news. Minutes pass, or maybe hours. Time becomes meaningless in the isolation. Occasionally, Keanu feels the vehicle take sharp turns, descend slopes, or cross rough patches of ground. Whatever facility they're heading to, it is nowhere near civilization. Finally, the SUV slows. The agents straighten their posture as if entering a zone with strict protocol. Keanu senses it too, an invisible heaviness, like they've crossed into a restricted world only a few know exists. The car comes to a full stop. The doors unlock with a metallic click that echoes through the stillness. One agent gestures for Keanu to step out. When he does, the harsh brightness of floodlights blinds him for a moment. As his eyes adjust, he sees it. A massive underground compound, entrance carved into the earth. Like the mouth of a steel giant, thick blast doors stand open, revealing long corridors and checkpoints inside. Guards stand in silent rows, weapons ready, faces masked. Not a single badge or sign indicates what agency they belong to. This is not a normal prison, not a police station, not even a military base. This is something hidden, something purposely erased from every public record. The Black Lady Commander from earlier steps forward again, her presence authoritative and sharp. She studies Keanu with the same cold, calculating eyes. "Welcome to your new reality," she says quietly, almost whispering. "From this moment on, nothing you knew, nothing you believed, and nothing you trusted will protect you." She signals to the guards. Keanu is pushed through the entrance. As he crosses the threshold, the blast doors begin to close behind him with a deep, thunderous rumble. The ground vibrates slightly beneath his feet. Once those doors seal, there's no going back. Inside, fluorescent lights buzz overhead. The air smells sterile, metallic, unnatural, like a place where truth is measured, extracted, and controlled. Keanu Reeves and his wife were led into the interrogation room, the heavy metallic door closing. Behind them, with a sound that resonated, like a death knell. The fluorescent lights above buzzed, casting stark shadows across their faces. The room was cold, sterile, and deliberately intimidating, designed to strip away comfort and leave only fear and raw truth. The Black Lady officer, their constant shadow throughout this ordeal, entered last. Her presence was commanding, a force that made every hair on Keanu's neck stand on end. She shut the door behind her and leaned against the wall, folding her arms, studying them silently for a moment that felt like eternity. "Sit," she said, finally breaking the silence. The word was calm, almost conversational, yet it carried authority that brooked no argument. Keanu and his wife sat on opposite sides of the heavy steel table, their hands still cuffed. They exchanged a glance, silent communication passing between them. Fear, confusion, but also resolve. Whatever was coming, they would face it together. The officer stepped closer, her gaze piercing, as if she could see every hidden thought and secret. "You have questions," she said, not asking, but stating the obvious. Keanu's voice was steady, though the tension in the room made it tremble slightly. "Yes, why? Why us? What is this all about?" "We've done nothing wrong." The officer nodded slowly. "You think you are innocent? Maybe you are. Maybe you're not. That isn't my decision. I am here to deliver the truth carefully." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. The air in the room grew heavier. Every heartbeat echoing like a drum, there is a network, she continued, her voice low but commanding. A network that spans continents, a network that uses people, places, and even technology without their knowledge. You and your wife were unfortunate targets, but you also hold information, whether you realize it or not, that could disrupt powerful interests. Keanu's brow furrowed. Information? We don't have anything! We're just living our lives. Her eyes softened for a fraction of a second, almost imperceptibly before hardening again. Sometimes innocence does not protect you. Sometimes just being in the wrong place at the wrong time is enough. His wife's voice trembled. But why take us here? To New York? Why all this secrecy? The officer leaned closer, her expression almost conspiratorial now. Because the people behind this, they are watching. They are powerful. And they do not care about visibility or legality. You are safe here for now, but outside, you would be in immediate danger. Keanu's chest tightened. He understood the arrest, the raid, the transfer, the secrecy, all part of a bigger plan, a vast conspiracy. They had been pawns, and now they were in the eye of the storm. The officer straightened and placed a file on the table. Its contents were sealed, red-stamped, and classified. This contains everything you need to know to survive the next phase.